Baba is ever ready to personally work on us from his side throughout the day. It's not that he only visits our heart once in a while and then only when it has been purified to a certain degree. One of the chief obstacles to this inner work is our delusion that we are not worthy or deserving of his attention. We often project onto Baba the conditions that the world, our parents, teachers, employers, and friends, expect of us for its approval. And in doing so, we are not fully open to Baba's unconditional love for us. The work we do within in time awakens our companionship with him. And this companionship, Darwin would always say, is the doorway to the unlimited freedom and beauty and sweetness of God. Feel free to share examples of how you experience Baba's work in you. What resistances and challenges do you find in yourself that get in the way of this inner work?
Okay. And then what I thought I would do, the the first sentence in this chapter on changing our focus, Darwin writes, Meher Baba is trying and suffering to help us reach the level of the spirit. Wait, not yet, Peter.
Okay.
And so what I wanted to do is say a little bit, well, like, what does Darwin mean by the level of the spirit? And that's like very central to this, the essence of this book. And he gives a very hopeful message, and I'm going to kind of try to put into words what Darwin means by this, you know. So the spirit, which we sometimes call the soul, is really beyond space and time. And it is the goal of our search, it's the goal of our efforts in this. And the spirit or the soul, in the spirit or the soul, is Baba's ocean of divine love. And according to Darwin, what Darwin would tell us, each of us, now this is very interesting, each of us is radiating this divine love right now in this very moment. That is, it's not something that's going to happen in the future, but we are radiating this love right now. And we're radiating this divine love toward everyone and everything right now. But now here's the big but is, by the time this ocean of love, which we are radiating right now, passes through our ego, with all of its veils, all of its obstructions, through the realm of time and space where we find ourselves, this ocean, as it's trying to pass through our ego, is reduced as it comes through, sometimes just to a mere stream, or maybe in the case of some people, a few miserly drops, and or if we're lucky, a river, that ocean. But the ocean has to pass through through our body, our mind, and our heart. It has to pass through our subconscious, our dream world, and our conscious state. It has to pass through all these obstructions. And all our efforts, as Darwin would say, are to remove these obstructions with Baba's help, so that the ocean of love that we really are can flow through us unimpeded. In the case of the intimate Mandali, in the case of Darwin and Esfandiar, whose love many of you experienced, that ocean of Baba's love flowed freely right through them. They could fill a whole room, a whole auditorium effortlessly with Baba's love. And so we don't have to acquire divine love. We already are divine love in this moment. We only have to surrender these obstructions to Baba to reveal who we are in fact. We may not even know we are radiating love. It doesn't require awareness. And even a little lamp, can fill up a dark room with light. But so it's like I say, we are the clouds, and the sun of who we really are is always there. It's just behind the clouds. So anyway, I thought I would say that. So let's let me see who we can. Uh, Dinku, do you feel like reading? Peter, if you can put that up, the beginning of it. Dinku, are you in a position where you can read? Okay.
Okay, Jeff, just a second. I need to expand the screen. So I start from the beginning,
Yeah, chapter 8.
changing our focus.
Yeah.
Can it be made
Normal.
bigger?
Um,
It,
okay. Normal consciousness is like the hypnotic sleep. Once you get a glimpse of reality behind the scenes, you wake up, never again settling for the death of ordinary life. Darwin Shaw. Meher Baba is trying and suffering to help us reach the level of the spirit. We must fight the battles of our addictions, keeping our focus on him. This gives us the focus we need so that desires can drop away. We may not be sure that what we are doing is right, but if we have good intentions, integrity of purpose, Baba comes to our aid within and works with us. He supports us and walks with us, and when we fall, he picks us up and helps us to get going again. I find it amazing that Baba works with us on the most minute things. He is actually more interested in our progress than we are. Baba is most definitely working with all who wish to have him do so. This is the main part of our relationship with him. He is constantly working with us. It is not that he works with us a little bit now and then, but I feel he is willing to work with us constantly, as long as we are willing to be truly dedicated to the spiritual path. This is his work, to help us see what we can do. He says that although we have to work along the path ourselves, his part of it, as I have mentioned earlier, is to confirm and consolidate our highest institutions and perceptions, and to precipitate our consciousness to the next plane of consciousness. But work we must. We must make an effort, and in addition to our 100% effort, we have to accept 100% grace. This seems like a paradox, but Meher Baba said in his universal message that he has come to release that divine grace. His work is for us is our salvation.
beautiful. Such nice enunciation. You folks were taught very well over there in India. Okay.
Thank you.
So, anybody want to say anything to that? I'm wondering if people might give an example of how you feel Baba works in you. I mean, some example of of the inner work that Baba might be doing in you. You can, Peter. You can drop the yeah.
All right, Diane and Terry.
They just came back from
Hi,
the
everybody. Jay
Hobbits.
Baba.
Yes, he did. Yes.
We are at the we're in Mariposa at the Meherana Sahavas. We just got back, and I'd have to say, to answer that question, for me, who's been a Virgo control freak my entire life, the one thing I have, and I hope our internet. So when I freeze, just move on.
Yeah.
But it's in the letting go. And today the twins, we had the honor of having the twins speak. And one of them said that Baba doesn't come and solve or fix the problems. Like somebody said, why do we get challenged so much? Baba doesn't come and fix the challenges, but he's there to basically hold our hand and guide us through. And while we were driving here, I have a 2000, I don't mean to brag, but I have a 2002 Honda Odyssey. So it's a 20-year-old, a little over 20 years old. And we get through the Grapevine, which is a big hilly incline. And as we're coming down, it felt like when we were about 10 minutes north of it, it felt like the car behind us hit us. We looked in the rear view mirror, he was way behind us. And we kept driving, and then all of a sudden it like went boom, like we were being thrown forward. And I went, this is a problem. I know what this feels like because I used to have a manual. And we were in the left lane, so we had some maneuvering to do. And to make a long story short, we pulled over in a town called Delano, which is not a podunk town. It's a pretty decent sized town, and went through Yelp to find a mechanic. We called 6 places and nobody either answered the phone or had a mechanic on duty. And I just stopped the car and literally asked Baba for help. And the next one I called was a company called Unique Auto. And boy, were they. We had to get back on the freeway. I was going 40 miles an hour. And we pull up, and it's the cleanest auto shop we've ever been in. And there are God signs, like signage in the lobby throughout. And it ended up, diagnostics-wise, to be my automatic transmission. The phone with my mechanic. And I just asked for Baba's guidance. I knew I was not willing to turn around and go home. I had been looking forward to coming to this Sahavas for months now. Within an hour and a half, we had made arrangements for a tow truck to come the next morning. He was going to lock our car up in his garage, take it back to Venice Beach. And he knows everybody. So he knew the tow truck driver. He knew the woman at Enterprise Rent-A-Car who gave us a 50% discount. And we lost an hour and a half of timing. But what it did to, I'll speak for probably the both of us, knowing that if you just kind of get out of the way and ask Baba for help, we got a rental car, we got up here in time.
You froze a little bit, Diane, but you've gotten to Mayor Mount, we assume. I think we may have lost her.
You mean not Mehermount, the other place that isn't Mariposa?
Oh, Mariposa. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
And that is very different behavior, I heard.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else want to?
I can't even say. Heard you anything?
No,
Oh. Now, speak now. You were frozen there for a while.
Yeah. Okay.
so the car got fixed. I mean, we got a rental car, we got to move on, and we've had the most beautiful time here and meeting people that were Zoom people for us, and now are humans in our circle. And in the flesh was a remarkable experience, and it's just been wonderful. Baba's just been, and on the stage they have a picture of Baba that is just, it's a photograph, it's not like a painting or anything, and he looks right at you, right into your eyes, and it was so powerful to be able to whole weekend. It was amazing. We love and miss you guys, and we hope you're all.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, if it, later on any of the whatever the Baba's nephews shared that comes to mind, feel free to share. Anyone else want to share how they experience Baba working in them, doing this inner work? Let's see. Or anything to say about what was just read there by Dinku. Okay, well, let's go on to the next one. Oh, okay, we got Janet. Yeah. You might be kind of quiet there.
Yeah, I'm. Well, something happened to me today. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, perfect.
That I wasn't anticipating, that Baba just guided me to, and I don't want to give the whole backstory for many various reasons, but a person that I guess I would have to say, a grudge against, that my daughter's very close to. And I've been resisting opening up to this person, opening my heart. I mean, not like I have to embrace and love, but just opening up. I've resisted this person. And today an opportunity came up in which I could be around them, and in a natural setting, my grandson's soccer game, and which I love attending. And I just feel the hand. I've been, Baba knows this has been an issue for me for some time. I'm talking in the 3-year category sometime. And I mean, if I gave the backstory, it would be, you'd understand why. But Baba presented an opportunity in which it could be done naturally, in which this could open. There's an opening that happened naturally. It wasn't forced in any way. It isn't like, okay, plug your nose and eat it or something like that. It was very natural, and it felt comfortable. And I feel Baba's hand was in it because it was done that way. Because, everything I read and hear so much, it talks about how when Baba did things, he always did it in a natural way, allowed things to flow in a natural way. And this was just that. And I'm so grateful for how he's cleared away negativity that was hanging out in my heart and in my mind, both. And in the most natural way, it just seems to have pretty much disappeared.
Yeah, you didn't have to get a situation where we need to sit down and talk, because sometimes that can get worse,
Exactly. That had been asked for from me, and I had resisted it. But this was so much better. Exactly. Sitting down, and anyway, I just want to say that I feel Baba's hand was definitely on it. It happened in every way, just kind of happened. And I'm so grateful that Baba is that kind of God that helps us in the most natural way. And yeah, so.
Yeah. I know sometimes if you're patient enough, these things circumstances will come along and resolve. It takes a lot of patience knowing that, well, the time and circumstances will be orchestrated, and these things are resolved in a very kind of natural way.
Yeah.
find that.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Let's go on to the next section. Oh, good. Come to the master first. How about, is Shri there?
I don't believe so.
Oh, I did see her. Okay, how about Marion?
It's rather blurry on my screen. It wasn't before,
Uh-huh.
so I don't know
That's
what's
why we're
different.
using our,
Do you have an iPad or an iPhone, or what device are you?
I'm on my PC. No, it wasn't blurry before the first part, so I don't know. I can read it, but I would not want to attempt. I might miss a word.
okay.
Okay.
Can it be
What
brought more
about
into focus?
Marcia Maltz?
Can it be
Marcia?
brought more into focus, Peter?
Yeah, I could read.
Okay, good.
I don't really know how to bring it more into focus. Like,
Yeah.
I have the whole PDF on my desktop, so
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, Marcia can do it.
Yeah, I've got the book. Come to the master first. Someone once asked Meher Baba, should one first get rid of desires and then come to the master? In other words, should we purify the heart and then put our energies into trying to love the master? Baba said, no, come to me first. When we put all of our energies into trying to love the master, that in itself will help us overcome our weaknesses and purify the heart. Doing so creates a centrifugal force, throwing out the false and preventing more of the false from coming in. Our vibrations step up a great deal. Our inner vision is greater and we dare to plunge ahead. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, make their weaknesses an obstacle. This is one of the big pitfalls. They say, I'm not deserving of Baba's love. Feeling unworthy, they make that a barrier between themselves and the master. But you cannot wait until you become pure of heart and have no weaknesses. Baba cautioned us not to make that mistake. In his discourse, True Discipleship, Baba said that the disciple should love in spirit in spite of his weaknesses and not tarry till he can purify his own heart. In other words, do not inhibit your love because of your failures or your weaknesses. He knows all of our weaknesses and our faults, and his love for us is unconditional, unbound by orthodoxy or any limitation. He accepts us without judgment. In Meher Baba, we find sanctuary, safety, and security. Try to be aware of his love for you as an individual. His disposition towards us is that of unbroken, sweet, loving care all the time. His true nature is not subject to anger or vindictiveness. The apparent cycle of push-pull that we experience with him as he operates on our sanskaras is necessary. Try to get closer to him each time. Jai Baba.
Is that the end of that section?
Yeah, the next one is Doorway to the
Okay.
Infinite.
Yeah. Okay, anything to say to that? This is one thing that Darwin really encourages not to let our weaknesses and our shortcomings get in the way of turning to Baba, being shy or keeping away from him. I mean, we're a mixture of love and selfishness. If every time we slip over into selfishness, we're ashamed in Baba's presence, that we are diminishing his love. We're shortchanging his love. I once asked Darwin, I said everyone was here at the center, and there were all sorts of conflicts that went on between people, especially competition to get closer to Baba's physical presence. I said, Baba saw all these people doing these things, elbowing each other and trying to get in front of him and all of that. How did Baba respond to it? And Darwin said, Baba seemed oblivious. He just wasn't on that level, on the level that many of us are on. He wasn't. But anyone want to say anything to that? As far as, I mean, a lot of people have been with Baba for a long time and gotten over some of that shyness or embarrassment or shame in being in Baba's presence, or turning to Baba. Anyone dealing with that, want to share that, or dealing with that problem? Well, I bet maybe most everybody has kind of worked through some of that. Anita, Anita, are you still there in just off of Vancouver Island?
Yeah, I'm in Nanaimo.
Nanaimo.
I'm actually here with my mom. She's running away.
Oh, far.
I wanted to say something, and so I turned my video on, and she.
Jay Baba. Hi, Jay.
Hello. I saw them back in 1970 in North Van. They were young. She was a young kid. I helped her write a paper for school.
Oh, you helped my mom write a paper?
Yeah.
Cool. I was gonna say that I think that, like, when not necessarily ashamed when I'm remembering Baba and with Baba. It's easy when that's the case, but when I'm with my ego and like have forgotten Baba's there, then it's like the shame comes in and the judgment, and like if I feel jealous or I get angry or anxious or whatever, it's like that immediate like the ego trying to be good and self-improve, which we know isn't what Baba's doing. He's self-effacing, but it's so hard when you're lost in your ego, and it's just like a habitual thing to want to be good. And maybe that's my sanskaras at least, but the trying to be good and moral, and then immediately seeing those sanskaras come up that he brings up and feeling like I need to fix it or do something. And so you see your weaknesses as a problem. Whereas then when you pause and you're like, okay, Baba, please help me because I'm struggling with this. He's like, yeah, he shows that unconditional love, and he's like, it's not actually a problem. I want these things to come up so that you can let them be for me. And so yeah, and the giving too, I know that's a different section, but giving things to Baba, like when I'm trying to do that from my ego, it's like it's trying to get rid of it itself and doesn't want it to be there. But I like thinking of it more as like, just let it be for Baba, because then there's no like active like trying to get rid of. It's just like, just let it be here. Baba wants it to be here, let it be, and it's for him. It's a gift for him. He's gonna deal with it in whatever way, and we're just letting it be here, just like the Beatles, let it be here.
Beautiful. I mean, it's a great attitude, because most people are trying to get rid of their weaknesses, and letting them be is kind of an acceptance, and then they're not this phrase, what you resist persists.
Yeah, exactly.
So sometimes they die from lack of attention, from lack of energy. Yeah. Beautiful.
I've really been struggling, like my ego has been struggling with the resisting, persisting, but it's like, yeah, two different people, Baba versus the ego, but you just got to get out of the way and let Baba do it.
Yeah, beautiful. Wow. I wish I'd known that when I was your age. I used to beat myself up, but I always felt Baba was saying, Jeff, just relax. Just, he was very empathetic, compassionate. And I was hard on myself, especially in my youth.
I think we all are hard on ourselves in different ways. And we're all facing that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that that Darwin used to say. Just, don't be so hard on yourself. Uh, Baba certainly isn't, you know. But okay.
I see Marsha has her hand up. Marsha, go for it.
Well, I got up today and I had all kinds of things that I had to do, but I just did one thing and did a concert. And then I laid on the couch all day and did nothing. And usually I would have felt bad or guilty, but I just kept watching videos. And then all of a sudden I said, oh, it's 9 o'clock. And I looked at Bob's picture and I jumped right in here and I didn't do anything. And I didn't feel bad that I didn't do anything. It was like, okay, now I can just jump back in and it's okay. You don't have to be hard on yourself if you do nothing. It just felt good just to, usually I feel, oh, I should have done this and that. And yesterday, to bring back the other topic, I went to a family thing with all my cousins. And for a few years, there were some things with some of them that I held inside, like feelings about things they said to me in the past. And I went there and it was just gone. I just looked at them and I was so happy to be around my family. And I realized that I had no issues anymore. He just took them away, It's like I was just like all that stuff, it just went, So he does work that way on you, takes things in a natural way. Yeah. So that felt really good to let all that go. Yeah. Family stuff. Yeah. Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Hey, Priya, do you want to read the next section? All the way from, you have to kind of shout across.
I noticed Bob has his hand up.
Yeah, wait one second.
Bob, did you have a question for Professor Jeff, or did you have something to share?
Yeah, just one quick comment about I really get the thing about letting certain things be and just sort of being with them. But some things, especially the habitual nonsense that the mind wants to come up with, there's that thought again, there's that regret again. How many thousands of times has that arisen? The thing that I'm trying to do more, that Baba said, push them toward me, saying, go to Baba. And that really seems to help me sometimes, because it isn't a repressing of whatever the thought is. It's just a immediate saying, just go to Baba. I don't need you anymore. You've been with me all my life. Just go to Baba.
Beautiful, really.
Sometimes it's a bit more active way for me to deal with some of this nonsense that works a bit. So.
Yeah, beautiful. No, that the giving to Baba is emptying out the heart so that Baba can occupy it. Yeah. So let's go on to the next section, Peter, and we'll get Priya. I think it's the next.
All right.
It's you need to scroll a little bit more.
Okay.
And I see Peter's there at some point. If Peter's got that thing that he has a story that Bob had told us, a little bit earth-shaking, but he'll have that aside at some point.
Okay, that's interesting. We're having a little technical difficulties. I'm not sure why it's not going down. Let's see.
You want to scroll it a little bit more.
Yeah, okay. Try continue.
It's
Master first. Okay, here we go. Can you all see that?
Doorway to the infinite, yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Doorway to the infinite. Love Baba in any way you can. He is the doorway to the infinite. Baba says, if you love me at your level, I will take you to mine. This is the whole secret. By loving him personally, we come to love him in an unlimited sense. I think that everyone who has come close to Baba spiritually also experiences him in the most personal sense with regard to his physical form. His form itself becomes a doorway to the infinite. But incidentally, en route, we experience the beauty of his form because he is, after all, the personalized divine beloved, the one we can really love, really adore. So just love him. Feel that he is part of your consciousness. Make him your spiritual path, your discipline or way, instead of some mechanical exercise or program. Meher Baba says of himself, I know the way and its labyrinths, and I am the way, I am the goal. Thus, we are able to enjoy the company of the Divine Beloved and participate in the goal to some extent if we tune into him with love. When we were around Baba, sometimes it actually happened with us temporarily. His consciousness was so dominant, both in the presence of individuals and among throngs of people, that at times one would be swept into his state of consciousness and would experience some of the unlimited freedom and beauty and sweetness of God.
Beautiful. Anyone to say something to that?
All right, Marion.
Hi, thank you. I think this addresses that. Because I always am doing my best to turn things over to Baba, be in anything that comes up that I don't know how to resolve, I tell Baba. Even if I have a complaint, I complain to Baba. And so that everything brings me closer and in his presence and love. I had an experience last week where, without going into all the details, it was very expansive. I live in New York City. I went to Ohio to my grandson's college graduation for 4 days. I had such an extraordinary experience of being taken care of. It was my daughter, I went with her and my son-in-law. I was taken care of in the ways at every moment that I don't think I've ever known in my whole life. I don't even think as a baby. And I teach and tell others that for most people, I don't speak for everyone, there are early childhood experiences that remain as a gateway our whole life as a human being, not something to be buried or something to be getting rid of, but to use as a gateway, because in the world of duality, we need gateways to the unitive state. The duality is the gateway to the unitive. And as Baba says in the discourses, when you can hold both sides of duality equally, that is the gateway to the unitive state. So I had a very expansive experience of feeling so taken care of that it was extraordinary while I was there those 4 days. I come back to New York City where I live alone, have to do everything myself, and I have some compassionate friends and whatever. But I have been so unhappy since I've been back and sad. And so I keep telling Baba, but there's been no quick fix. There's been no quick answer. So I get little dribs and drabs through my intuitive self, which I accept because Baba said, we're here to balance the head and the heart with the heart leading away. That's intuition, and that is God. So I'm finding that I am feeling impatient. I want to know what all this sadness about. And then I'll get a brief message through my intuitive self. And then today it was, if I got all at once this awareness of what this transformation is from those 4 days that I had such exquisite care, like I've never had in my life, I wouldn't be able to handle it all. So I'm getting it in bits and pieces. So that helped me a whole lot, getting that intuitive message from Baba, that just to stay with it, feel what I'm feeling, and deepening my trust and faith that all in time will be revealed. So that kind of goes along with, turning everything over to Baba. I don't always get the quick fix. It's not quick this time. It's only been a week that I've been back, and it's not a quick fix, but I do get some messages.
Yeah. Yeah, and that work is you're doing it with Baba, so he's right there.
Yes,
But
and his
not be right there in the way you liked it in Ohio.
right, his compassion is there to not flood me with everything else. That's the message I got. I cannot take it all at once of what this transformation is, and it will come in time. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Anyone else have anything to say? Oh, hey, here's what. Hey, Peter, are you there?
You mean the other Peter from Florida?
Peter Solamasi.
Okay. I don't see him. He must have signed off.
Well, no, I see him on my screen. I see a photograph in his place. Anyway, I guess we'll wait. Okay, let's go on to any.
Oh, I see him on screen. Yeah, I guess he's.
Further comments? That one was the doorway to the infinite. Okay, let's go on to cultivate companionship. Let's see. Cultivate companionship. Hey, Ralph. Ralph Jackson.
Hello, Jay Baba.
Yeah.
Cultivate companionship. You're looking for a reader. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Inwardly, we have to believe in the highest possibilities. Negative thoughts mean that we are being hoodwinked by Maya. It all boils down to working with Baba within, developing a sense of his companionship and drawing closer and closer to him. This changes the tendencies of one's mind and heart. Drawing closer to Baba at the level of the heart by awakening inner feelings for him is what our effort is all about. We can do many things to help cultivate companionship with him. I think as we come to learn more about how he lived his physical life, which involved almost constant suffering for humanity, and how he paid the price, so to speak, for our spiritual liberation, we will perhaps develop more feelings about him in a way of loving him. We can also comply with his inner instructions, tune in to his presence, and try to control what we think and believe as ways of drawing closer to him. Who's controlling the text?
That's Peter. Yeah.
Peter, don't mess with it.
Okay. Can you see it?
I'm losing my place. Well, I've lost my place this time.
Even writing letters to him, that paragraph.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Even writing letters to him that will never reach him in the physical can be helpful. I recall once receiving from Baba a reply to a letter I had written to him. He said in this reply, "Your letter brought you closer to me. In writing, we are pouring out our hearts. We are thinking of him, trying to reach him inwardly, trying to make that constant within, and trying to fathom his significance. Our thought has to be used in the process." Did I read that correctly? Our thought has to be used in the process. It sounds like an impossible thing, but my experience is that we can be aware of him, and the more we think of him, the more aware we are become, the more we think of him. We can learn to feel his presence. When I was at my job, I had to try to keep my heart going, keep my feelings, my heart center awake and active, feeling Baba's presence, even though my mind had to be occupied elsewhere. Of course, I was not always successful in remembering Baba through the heart center, but it is not something that you blame yourself for if you cannot do it. You just work at it. When you are taking up any kind of sport or skill, you are not likely to be top rate to begin with. You have to work at it. If you begin to experience Baba's presence, you will discover that it is not painful and unhappy work. It is a pleasant, happy, and blissful experience. In fact, you can experience happiness all the time by doing this work. Jai Baba.
Yeah, thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
So, anything to say to that? I mean, that's the beautiful thing what he says, that if you're trying to remember Baba during the day, even if you're not successful up to your own standards, there is a feeling of happiness that, you know, you have this privilege of working a remembrance of Baba in here and there, rather than these kind of blank periods of the day where nothing is really happening. You know, it's that effort that's happening throughout the day feeds the heart, for sure. But anyone have to say anything? It seems like it's all self-explanatory as we're going along. You people are doing your homework. Oh,
After Bob.
Okay.
All right, Bob.
Yeah, I just have a question about Darwin starts out by saying, let's see, negative thoughts. Negative thoughts mean that we're being hoodwinked by Maya. And that part I can really see. I mean, the negative thoughts or regrets or memories, as I was referring to before, those are somewhat easier for me to deal with. But the moods, the emotions that I don't even know where they come from sometimes. That's a whole other deal. And those kinds of sort of, you know, wavering moods and emotions that take over sometimes, I have a lot more trouble dealing with. Giving that to Baba or even remembering Baba in the midst of those things, they don't, it's harder for me. So if you have anything to say about that, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, the moods that come through. I mean, the metaphor that comes to mind is, if you think of your being, your soul, as the Earth's atmosphere, and the moods are like weather systems passing through the atmosphere. If you identify too much with that hurricane that's going through, you get buffeted all around.
Yes, you do.
And you can stay back and let it. pass through the atmosphere, it goes through a lot faster. Once you identify with it, that shouldn't be there. I shouldn't be feeling that. Whatever. Then you're going for a ride. But if you can stay as the Earth's atmosphere and let this weather system pass through, you're still going to feel it. It's still got to go through you, but you're not engaging with it. Now that's very hard because we take it personally. Why am I upset? Why don't I like my aunt here? Why can't stand her talking all the time and interrupting, whatever. and so you're in a mood there. But someone, I think you folks know Peter Nordine, and someone said what to do about the feelings. I'm having trouble with the feelings, and Peter Nordine said, "You are worshiping your feelings, and you're not worshiping Baba." I mean, in a way, we're kind of we're elevating our feelings up to the level of Baba's divinity, so to speak, or our own soul. But that's a work in progress, to be able to watch these very uncomfortable weather systems go by without taking it personally, without going out in the hurricane and getting blown here and there.
Thank you.
Oh, just a second. Yeah. Oh, someone has come in here, Thea, but he's just using the bathroom. Anyone else? Oh, yeah. Preach.
Yeah, well, everyone. Yes, I just wanted to quickly add that in this practice of cultivating relationship with Baba, there were a lot of thoughts that came when I began this journey. Sometimes, and I like writing letters to him instead of just sitting and talking. So often the days had nothing exciting to share with him. And I'd imagine how boring a company I am to him. And as I went through that, I remember once, also feeling that there are moments when I forget to remember him, or, that he fades away completely. But I remember writing to him once about it. And in my writing, I noticed that what was coming was that he is here with me. He is here with all of us, beyond what I see, beyond what I do, and beyond what I feel. And just with that understanding, when you look at him and you see that no matter where you are, he is here. And that sort of just invokes a big wave of love. And I think probably that's what this doorway to the infinite maybe refers to, where you just constantly feel that love shining through. And that doesn't cease, even in the dark hours, even when I'm depressed or low, his presence stays.
And a beautiful thing that I got from Erich when I was quite young is that there is one heart. I'm on one side of the heart, Baba's on the other. If I'm sad, he's sad in me. If I'm happy, he's happy in me. So from that, what Baba, when you focus on how you're feeling deep down, that is focusing directly on Baba. That's how Baba feels to live in you. So that's not like Baba's over there feeling this and I'm over here feeling that. It's that intimate that if you're feeling depressed, it is Baba also in you is feeling depressed exactly like you are, because it's a one shared heart. You follow what I mean? How we feel doesn't have to separate us from Baba. If we take it that how we feel, Baba, he comes, he doesn't just stay aloof, he comes and shares our life exactly with us. You know, he's not above us, he's right there with us. So that, and so from Darwin, from Erich, one of the ways of focusing directly on Baba, you know, there's saying Baba's name, there's serving others, but if you focus on how you feel deep down, you are focusing directly on Baba in you. Prior to that, I thought I was just indulging in how I'm feeling. I'm feeling this, and I'm feeling jealous. Oh, Baba wouldn't feel jealous. Baba wouldn't feel critical. No, to me, that thing that Erich brought home to me, I've never been alone, because Baba's sharing my feelings. And he's sharing what he feels like to live in me. You know, it brings Baba from being this aloof, divine being, like he doesn't like deal with it, this pettiness. No, he comes down and sits in our heart with each of us. I don't know if it was immensely helpful. It just wiped out all separation from Baba. But I had to kind of like change my definition, that I had to say, well, Baba can be jealous in me. He can be vengeful in me. He can be critical in me. And so it softens it.
Thank you.
So, Peter, let me see if I can get, not Peter number one, not Peter number two. Hey, Peter, do you have that piece of that story from Eric, from Baba?
I found, okay, hold on, 280. I had to find it, and that's how it was. It's the only place I knew for sure how to find it. Just a sad disclaimer. I'll have it in just a second. I'm just going to read the whole chapter. It's not a very, very, very long chapter. The disclaimer is that when I read the story, it's such in a way, a wonderful spiritual story, but I lose friends. So I'm planning on losing a whole lot of friends here with me doing it. And I sent it to a hot blonde, and I think I lost the potential for friendship there. So here it goes.
What, before you read it, Peter, this is directly from Baba. It can be like quite disturbing in some ways, but this is a truth that Baba revealed, and this isn't related to what we're reading here, but it is pretty central to understanding Baba. Go ahead, Peter. Yeah.
All right, and also, I know from lack of demonstration that there's really a little interest in where I am, but this is coming from Pinellas Hope, which is a homeless shelter where me and other people, 200 people, are in 10 by 10 tents so far through whatever weather there's been. All right, Sanskaras, that's how it was, page 280. Most of the time when we were with Mayor Baba, we did not talk about God or spirituality. And sorry, I can't do anything about the background noise. We talked about whatever work we were engaged in at the time, or we talked about commonplace things. It was not often that Baba was in the mood to give a discourse, but in the early years, Baba would repeatedly bring up the subject of sanskaras. He would explain how it was our sanskaras which kept us from realizing our oneness with God. Because of the emphasis Baba put on it, many in the Mandali became convinced that their goal should be to get rid of their old sanskaras and avoid talking on any new ones. My timer. Sorry, my timer was going off. And Baba did not discourage them in this. But as Baba explained more and more about the nature of sanskaras, because sanskaras has been in italics, the Mandali were forced to adopt more and more desperate measures to avoid taking on more sanskaras. It reached the point where people were reluctant to sit near each other or to have someone look at them while they were eating. It became almost impossible for anyone to do anything. And it was then that Baba told the following story. It sounds like what happens in the major leagues when someone's pitching a no-no. Everyone wants to get away from the pitcher to make sure he gets his no-hitter. Right. There was a notorious bandit, a highwayman, who not only robbed but also murdered people. This was how he supported himself and his family. In the course of earning his living, he had killed 99 people. It was at this point that he explained a sudden and intense change. It was at this point when he experienced a sudden and intense change of heart. He realized for the first time what terrible karma he was creating for himself through his occupation.
And this is Baba who's relating this story. Yeah, go ahead.
Deeply tormented with the thoughts of his evil deeds and in great despair, he left his family and wandered the country seeking peace of mind. He grew more and more desperate, constantly beseeching God to forgive him his sins. One day, it so happened that he had the great good fortune to attract the attention of a perfect master, capital P and capital M. The master asked him what was troubling him, and he told the master his whole story, poured out his heart to him, and pleaded with him to help. The master agreed to do so and led the repentant man into the surrounding jungle. He took him to a certain spot and instructed him to sit there and repeat God's name. In quotes, never leave the spot except to beg for food or to attend the calls of nature. And even then, return to this exact spot immediately and stay there, end quote. The man was overjoyed that there was the possibility of escape from his karma and immediately began following the master's instructions. Well, years went by, and because the man was sincere in his quest for forgiveness, he continued to sit where his master had instructed him and repeated God's name. In fact, he became lost in the repetition of God's name and gradually left the spot less and less. Although he seldom came into town now to beg for his food, the people there began to respect him and eventually to revere him for his dedication to repeating the Lord's name. It so happened that the jungle where the man sat lay in between one town and another. The king decided that a path should be cut through the jungle so that his messengers could more speedily travel from one town to the other. So, accordingly, townspeople were hired to cut a track through the jungle. When they reached the spot where the man sat, they stopped and waited until he had gone off to beg for food, and then they worked hurriedly so that the section would be done by the time he returned. I can see the story is having its effects. Absorbed in his repetition of God's name, when the man returned, he simply resumed his spot, which was now in the middle of the king's highway. Years went by, and the man continued to sit there. Travelers respected the man and would always edge to one side of the path so as not to disturb him when they passed. And always the man held to the repetition of his beloved's names. Now it so happened that one day the king sent a courier on his road to deliver a message to a neighboring king. The messenger was full of arrogance and self-importance, and he reacted to the spectacle of a man seated in the middle of the track. forcing him to slow down and go around. He reined in his steed and called out to the man, "Hey, you, are you blind? Move aside, and at once." The man was so absorbed in his repetition that he didn't even hear the messenger. He continued to yell at him and to abuse him. The messenger got so angry at the man's lack of response that he reached down and slashed the man across the cheek with his riding whip. In a flash, the highwayman's old skills reasserted themselves, and instinctively he reached up, yanked the messenger from his horse, and throttled him, thus making him his 100th victim. But the messenger happened to be carrying an order from the king for the execution of 100 innocent people. Thus, the 100 people the highwaymen had killed were exactly balanced by the 100 people he had inadvertently saved. And because his sanskaras of killing and saving were thus so balanced, he instantaneously became God realized. This was the story Baba told us, but of course its point was not that it is okay to kill, but rather that balancing one's sanskaras is such an exceedingly subtle operation that there is no way one can hope to do it on one's own. The intricacies of the path are finer than the finest hair. So be natural, Baba urged. Simply do as I tell you to, obey me, and don't worry about sanskaras.
Beautiful. I mean, it's very telling. I mean, Eric used to tell that story, and it's wow, it's like pretty dramatic. And the main import is, you know, by loving Baba, our good and bad sanskars are kind of getting dissolved as we go along without our in there weighing them on scales. But because certain people I've like been with, and they the tab at the restaurant has to be equally divided, you know, because they don't want, you know, they don't want to have more they don't want to owe me anything, you know, or me to owe them anything. I mean, it gets down to that absurd, you know. So, or you don't want to embrace somebody because you're going to get their sanskars, and then that'll throw you out of balance. I mean, the Baba people do get into this, believe me. But anyway, hey, let's see. My thought is, you know, it's after 11, and we came down to the end of that. Anything anyone have to say about anything at all? And Tony, anything occurs to you in the course of your day?
I'd be coming way out of left field. No, thank you.
Now the left fielder for the New York Mets, Tony Paternini.
You know, there was a lady on the center today. She's the mother of one person that comes on here, Alan Manukian. And his mother shared how she had this dream of this woman. She's not a Baba person. She had a dream of this woman in black come to her, very angelic person, wearing in black, meaning what do you call that? I can't remember what that kind of clothing. Someone in grief came to her. She saw this woman, and 3 days later her husband died. You know, and this woman was in grief that she saw, and then somehow in the next couple of weeks she saw a picture of Mara, and that was Mara who had come to her and just, you know, already taking on the grief. And so she has developed this whole relationship with Mara She didn't even know who she was, you know, but she gave her that comfort in her lowest time in her life, losing her husband, who died just unexpectedly. Anyway, that was something that was shared today in the original kitchen. So does anybody have a quote to end the evening with? Maybe we could get, Bob, maybe you could get the one about the something, the sweet mustard or whatever. Bob.
Oh, the poem from our book.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Yeah, here it is. It's titled Swift Kick.
That's it. Swift kick.
In the orange circle of sweet sour sauce, the bright yellow yolk appears festive, but too generous a dollop on the egg roll claws through sinuses to explode like napalm behind the eyes until sneezing, crying, gasping for breath, all consciousness goes, no worry, no want, no future or past. Nothing in the universe matters. For this fiery fraction of a second, free. Chicken soup for the soul? Nice enough in its way, but what the soul really wants may be more along the lines of too much Chinese mustard. J-Bob.
Let's see, do we have, dang, I usually have poetry. I have to tell you, like right outside here is motorcycle weekend. And I mean, it's bedlam here. And I'm trying to be here, and while that's going on out there, it's truly insane. And there's a traffic light right in front of the center. So these motorcycles come up to them, and then they just rip out of there. Blood curdling.
So that's a lesson, like, on effort and grace. Like, give that to Baba.
Yeah.
You give the effort and he gives the grace. All right, Dinku.
Yeah.
Dinku, do you have a question or something to share? Dinku, are you there? See you.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to unmute. This was posted this morning by Mayor Daruwala on one of the Baba groups, WhatsApp groups, and I thought I'd read it out. It's the Commandments by Avatar Mayor Baba. Desire for nothing except desirelessness. Hope for nothing except to rise above all hopes. Want nothing and you will have everything. Be angry with none but your own weaknesses. Hate none but your lustful self. Be greedy to own more and more wealth of tolerance and justice. Wage war against your desires, and godhood will be your victory. Serve others with understanding that in serving them, you are serving me. Be resigned completely to my will, and my will be yours. Let your temptation to be tempt me with your love in order to receive my grace. Jai Baba.
Hey, Baba. Those sayings are on the wall in the barn here at the center. Baba asked that they be posted there, so they're all framed on one of the walls. Hey, well, let's have a few moments of silence before we go on and